So, what would be your message in terms of, for us as Muslims living here, being thrown all these subliminal messages? How do we integrate in this society whilst not subjugating our morals and our beliefs?
It's very, look, the question is very succinct, it's to the point. You know, when we get fooled, when we don't know the fundamentals of life. See, a magician, if you're a magician yourself and you know how magic works, you can't get fooled. This is why the story of Musa is so beautiful with Fir'aun. With the snake of Musa, it was real. The snakes of the magicians was false. And Allah shows that the most beautiful part of the story, you know, of how the magicians became believers, the most beautiful part was the magicians became believers. It wasn't the observers who became believers. It was the magicians who became believers. Because no one knew the fundamentals of magic than the magicians. And they knew the snake that Musa brought was real. And there's something special about reality. When reality touches you, it strengthens you. That's why we say experience is your best teacher. When you experience something, and you've really experienced it, it's no longer theoretical. You can judge it now because time has come on your side. It's become real. So reality is what you and I need to touch. Often we live this facade of thoughts, and our belief system is built on some foundation that somebody told us, but we didn't validate it. We were taught, we were told, and we thought it's the truth. And we gave credibility to the one who taught us without questioning the integrity of the credibility, nor the essence of what was taught, because we thought it's put in a package deal. You know, somebody delivered it to me, I put it here, and I said, this is haqq. But did you ever question it? No. Have you ever looked in here? No. Why should I? It's already haqq. So then we don't know what it is, and then shaitan comes with his garb, and he fools us with glitter, like a magician, you see? And we think, ooh, that was real. And we get fooled. That's why Allah says, فَلَا تَغُرَّنَّكُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا وَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكُمْ بِاللَّهِ الْغُرُورُ. Don't be fooled by the glitter of the world, and don't be fooled by the arch deceiver. How do you not get fooled? By strengthening your iman. Fundamentals, aqaid, aqidah. How many of us are strong in tawheed? You know, sadly, I don't claim to be an expert in tawheed. Far from it. But our Muslim community, 2.2 billion of us, majority of us hardly spend time talking about Allah. About Allah. We talk Allah everywhere. Wallah, subhanallah, mashallah. But who's Allah? He's there. Where? Well, we can't describe it. When a child asks a father, many fathers come to me and say, brother, can you explain to my son about Allah? So I said, I'm honored you've asked me to do it, but what about you? Well, son, I've become an old man now. I said, so even more reason. You've aged. You've had more experience. You should have stronger answers. Well, my son is asking a very complicated question like, where is Allah? I don't know how to answer that. Really? Maybe you never questioned that all your life. So maybe now your child is asking you that question. It's time you answered it. But brother, I don't know how to answer it. I said, how many years have you been worshiping Allah? All my life. Which one? Because you don't know who He is. Because you've been worshiping someone you can't even describe to your son. You know how many times I get that? It's frightening. And when you ask them, well, my father told me this, so I said, there's no difference between us and Hindus and Jews and Christians in terms of beliefs, because then they also inherited. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمُ اتَّبِعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ قَالُوا بَلْ نَتَّبِعُ مَا وَجَدْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا. Follow what God has given. He said, no, we follow what our fathers gave us. See, many of us Muslims, even Shia, Ja'fari, Hanafi, whatever, why are we there? Our fathers gave us. We are followers of Ahlul Bayt because our fathers gave us. Now, some of us are blessed to have been given the religion that's correct, but how do you know it's correct? Because if the argument is I inherited, then every person who inherits a religion is right, because inheritance is the means to right. Allah says, أَوَلَوْ كَانَ الشَّيْطَانُ يَدْعُو مِلَىٰ عَذَابِ السَّعِيرِ. Even if the devil, shaitan, the evil forces are taking your parents to hell, Your fathers to hell, you'll follow them? Quran is asking. Even if they are wrong, you'll follow them? Quran is saying. What the Quran is saying to me, that even if you're a Muslim, even if you're Ja'fari, even if you're born in the best among the best, that does not exonerate you, that does not free you from self-examination and validation of your own iman. Because under that condition, prophets and imams shouldn't have prayed. What was the need? They were already there. Why did Imam Ali say, ظَلَمْتُ نَفْسِي? Why was the Prophet constantly praying at night and begging and crying? Why was Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam crying to such levels that they say you would see a pool of tears under his sajada, Why? He's ma'soom. What is he doing? He's doing reflection, introspection. He's questioning his own self. And that's a need of every created being till death. الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات. They're doing fikr and dhikr at all times. They don't stop. Are we doing fikr and dhikr? No. Our fikr is our money. Our fikr is our grand houses and our grand cars and our looks. And that's good to do fikr. But how much do you allocate to that? What is the scale of allocation? Look at our young children today. What are they taught? Just be glamorous. Have big muscles, be glamorous. Walk around with big pectorals and mashallah, everybody will love you. We're taught that. Drive a nice fancy car, people will love you. Have money. Just wrap yourself with some gold, you look rich. Wear a Rolex or something, And that's achievement. It's not achievement. It's nothing. Achievement is the basis. But we don't spend much time in usul. We don't spend much time in aqaid. We don't discuss Allah. Many a times I listen to people make comments like, sometimes they're so absurd. You say, really? You concluded that? Let's talk about this because this is way out of place. How did you come here? What happens is that when we get a collection of data and we don't process it, we just inherit and we recycle it. Then the next generation comes and asks us, where is God? You say, oh my God. When I was your age, son, astaghfirullah, I never asked my father that question. Astaghfirullah. How dare you ask this a question? And then, of course, the child says, but Dad, I need to know. Why? Because if I'm not convinced, I'm becoming an atheist. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. My heart will stop. Son, you will be an atheist? Yes. Oh my God, akhir zaman. This world is coming to an end. Like why? Was it different 500 years ago? 500 years ago, there was also a child who asked his father the same question. It hasn't stopped. Never has stopped. Never will stop. What's the beauty when a child comes and asks me that question? And he'll ask me, where is God? And I'll say, and he says, Brother Hassan, I respect you. You're a speaker. You're a public speaker. You're a scholar in your own right. Where is God? Suddenly Shaitan says, how dare you ask such a silly, rudimentary question, so simple. You're such a scholar of such high stature, how can you answer such a silly question? Is it? In fact, there's no greater question than that one. If you want to be a real scholar, let a child ask you a question and answer him the right way. Now you've got something. Because if someone says to you, brother, son, it's too complicated. Don't talk to me about Allah. It's too complicated. Wait till you grow older. That is not a scholar. A scholar will tell you with simple terms. This is how our Prophet was. See, our Prophet was simple. He was the most learned man ever to walk on earth. But his power of communication was so clear and distinct. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. He is the best in his moral. But وَإِنَّمَا أَنَا نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. I am a clear warner. When I use words the Prophet said, they are so succinct, to the point, you will spend your life unraveling it. Because I am succinct. Succinct means no extra words. To the point. It's wisdom. It's very difficult. You ever see that, for example, advertisers? Like Nike, right? Nike says, just do it. Right? It's their brand. 3 words. But it's got so many meanings. Right? If you are able to take your business model and bring it down to a word or 3 words, you're brilliant. You think the more words you put, the smarter you are. No. The smarter you are with the less words you put. You say less is more. To come to less requires a lot of wisdom. Because to remove the extra words, the verbose, the extraneous material is not easy. So when a child comes and asks you, where is God? You should have it at the tip of your tongue. Son, you want to see Allah? I'll talk to you about it. Now the child starts to get mesmerized, like, wow, my father, my uncle, this brother is so to the point. It's clear. He's got me thinking. That's it. Make them move. Start making them think. Next thing, they will be so zoned in, they start falling in love with the real, no longer with the garb, and they don't get fooled. You understand? When children are not given the real, they get fooled. They get frustrated. Then anything that glitters, they run. They run towards it. And Shaitan says to Allah, فَبِعِزَّتِكَ لَأَغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. By your authority, I will fool them all. How does Shaitan succeed in fooling us? Due to our ignorance. But when you and I remove ignorance, and we work hard to know the inner depth of how the system works, he can't fool us. Just like the magicians were no longer fooled. They couldn't be fooled, you see? Because Musa a.s. came with clear arguments and showed them, here it is, and they were stunned. What you and I need to do as Muslims is we need to clarify. These young children, many of them, they lose Iman. I don't blame them. It's wrong to lose Iman, but I don't blame them. When you give misinformation to children, the product grows the wrong way. It's like a plant. You keep feeding it the wrong nutrients, it just won't give up it won't give fruits. When children come to me, parents say, my son is becoming an atheist. My son just became a Christian. My child became a Buddhist. I said, okay, let's talk to him. No, he became an atheist. Come. I asked the child, how did you become, what's your reason? He starts giving me all these grandiose words, Big Bang, and starts talking big talk. So then you start to cut it down to the chase. He says, oh, really? Okay, answer this question. He can't answer it. Answer this question. He can't answer it. Answer that question. He can't answer it. I said, so you don't know? Well, what do you mean I don't know? I'm an atheist. I said, what is atheism? He says, I don't believe in God. I said, what's your evidence? He says, I can't see God. I said, lack of evidence is never evidence for an argument, so you cannot be an atheist. You cannot go to court and say, Your Honor, I have no evidence, therefore I have an evidence. And suddenly the child is stumped. Huh? I said, yeah, you have no evidence. Lack of evidence is never evidence for an argument. What's your argument? He doesn't know. I said, just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not there. Like a child came and asked me, says, where is Allah? I want to see him. I said, you can't see him. He's not visible with the eye, but hearts see him. This child, 10-year-old in California, beautiful young child looking at me, big eyes, staring at me, says, and he's blinking, he says, I want to know God. And I'm just about to lecture. I swear, I'm about to go up on a pulpit. He says, brother, I asked my father, I want to see God. I said, you can't see him with your eyes, but you can see him with your heart. He said, what do you mean? I said, do you love your mother? He said, yes. I said, how much? He says, a lot. I said, that's not enough. Tell me exact amount. He said, this much. I said, so what's behind your hand and your arm is not love for your mother? No, even that. I said, where do you stop? He says, I don't stop. This is a 10-year-old now talking to me, right? I swear, if I spoke to a 5-year-old, it would be the same answer. I love them a lot. How much? I said, you love your mother? He said, yes. I said, what's love? You sure it's love? He said, yeah. I love my mother. I love her very much. I said, how does love look? Is it red? Is it blue? Is it green? Is it yellow? And he kept staring at me and blinking. Huh? I said, is it soft? Is it hard? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it smooth? Is it rough? And he just stared at me. He says, I can't describe it. I said, but are you sure you love your mother? Yes, brother, I love my mother. See, I kept asking, are you sure? You're sure now. You're not doubt. He says, doubt? Excuse me. I don't doubt the love of my mother. I said, you notice how certain you are? But I asked you to describe it. You couldn't. Why can't you? Can I call you a liar? And the child said, no. I said, now go home and think about that love. Love is just an element that bonds you with your mother. You cannot describe it. You cannot see it. You cannot taste it. But it's there. And you will give your life for it, but you can't see it. What is it? He went home. The next day he came, he had a sparkle in his eye, but he was dazzled. He kept staring at me. He came back to me. I've been thinking all night about that love. I said, good. And what's your conclusion? He says, I can't describe it. I said, do you love it? I said, I'm using the same word again. He said, yeah. I said, the one who made it is greater. I said, now I'll answer your question. You want to see Allah? He said, yeah. I said, you'll see Him with your heart, not with your eyes. Find Him. He is closer to you than your jugular. And He made everything you love. Don't forget. So now this is very basic answer. It's deep. But when you start comparing it, you start to begin to see. I even challenged Dan, when I asked Barker, by the way, the same challenge. I think if you watch the debate, I said, you claim that God has to be seen visually, physically. Okay? Show me love. He says, love is when you hug a person. I said, so when two wrestlers hug each other, they love each other, right? And when one chokes the other, we can say in the court of law, I love this wrestler so much I killed him. And I would be freed, right? Because I loved him. Is that what love means? And the whole crowd started to laugh because they said, that's a silly answer. It's more than that, beyond that. Let's talk about intelligence. When someone says you're intelligent, he's a very intelligent person. What is it? How does it look? It doesn't exist in the physical. It's beyond the physical. Now these are quantified entities, but think about that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, what is the most valuable thing to you? The intangible, stuff you can't touch. Love is superior to material things. We say, I gave you this gift, but I love you. My love is greater than this gift. It's just a representation of my love. Notice that metaphysical is always superior to the physical. Always, always. Even tomorrow is superior to today. How? Tomorrow is a projection of today, and if I had control of tomorrow, I'd be the richest man in the world. Because today has passed, and I can see it in hindsight. But the power of knowledge for tomorrow is priceless. That's what Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَ عِلْمُ السَّاعَةِ وَيُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثِ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْأَرْحَامِ. He knows that day of judgment. And He brings the rain. And He knows what's in the womb. You see? وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا. No self knows what it will earn tomorrow. Not only material, but in action. وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. And no self knows which land they will die on. Allah says these are the most precious qualities that you would love to possess. But you can't have it until I give it to you. SubhanAllah. This is why prophets had such power. They had the power of prediction. God gave them the future. Imam Ali alayhi salam says soon, after the battle of Jamal, after he fights Aisha, he says soon this city will be submerged in water where the tombs of the masajid will look like humps of camels. And it did happen. Right? He says soon there will be people who will come and invade this land with flattened faces. And they will come and they will raise the city, Iraq. And the Mongols did come. That power of prediction of future, Allah gives. Now, imagine somebody predicted something with accuracy yesterday, and it happened tomorrow. You and I will potentially worship that person. Power of the unseen.
Thank you very much, Haji, for your poignant words. Is there a question from the sisters? We'll start with the sisters to give them a chance first. So, if anyone wishes to.
Before we just go, just let me summarize. Very important for us to have aqeedah. If our aqaid is strong, tawheed, let me give you the core aqaid. It's tawheed, nubuwa, qiyamah. Core. Extension of the core, tawheed, adalat, nubuwa, imama, qiyamah. When you extend it, when you get deeper into it, you extend it. Because adalat is part of tawheed, it's not separate. Well, we bring adalat out because adalat has been questioned within the Muslim ummah. Therefore, we extend it simply to make a clear point. Otherwise, adalat is part of tawheed. It's not separate. Imamat is part of nubuwah. You can't separate them. Nubuwah is complete when imamah is brought into it. You remove imamat, it's incomplete. So we know imamat is part of nubuwah. So tawheed, nubuwah, qiyamah. Please know these three. Know it like the back of your hand. Believe me, I can't stress it enough. I've spent my life, honestly, when I was a teenager, I went through these moments of agnosticism and potential atheism, questioning, is Islam right? Am I right? Is the Ja'fari school right? And I just questioned everything, including lectures, including everything, from Allah's existence to my own existence. Everything. I went through this incredible upheaval within me. And I started to say, how do I satisfy my inner calling of strength? And I don't need to convince anybody. And the answer was, start going into Aqidah, question it, validate it. The next thing, Allah puts you in front of atheists, and you basically put them in their places. But the beauty there is, and I must say with sincerity, I don't claim to be strong in Aqidah, but what Allah has given me to date, even if these mountains were to shatter, the earth was to crumble, you can't escape the strength of that Aqidah. It's indomitable. It's so firm that when I talk to people of other religions, this foundation just comes up and says, can you break this? No. Nobody can break it. And I think it's the Savior that keeps us in the direction and gives us this desire to wake up every morning and to want to do more for Allah and to die for Allah. Because it's so real. You touch it. And every day it gets more real. Sorry about that.
It's all right. We've got about half an hour before Namaz Maghrib. There's a number of questions here. But I'm going to give the opportunity first to the sisters. If anyone of the sisters have a question in the audience, please. Could you get a mic to that sister over there, please? Yeah, she's going. All right. Is it not working?
It's okay. Why don't you ask it, and then I will. Yeah, I'll rephrase it. Alaikum salam.
My question is that marriage has become so problematic in our society. Which should be more prioritized, marriage or university education? Please emphasize the balance, especially as young ladies put off marrying to take up masters, etc.
Well, marriage is very important in life because it brings stability within the society. When married couples procreate and they have children, it strengthens the foundation of society. You'll find that married couples tend to be more moral. They're more conscious of their morality. Why? Because what is marriage in the simplest of terms? It's contractual. The simplest answer I can give you is any two people who get into any transaction and they obey a contractual agreement, we would call them civil servants. We would call them people who are law-abiding. Even two atheists, when they get married and they put it in writing, in law, that we are getting married and these are the rules and the state or the governance of the marriage law of this country will rule us, you're civil. There's civility there because you subjected yourself to a higher authority such that you start to become more morally conscious. In Islam, when couples get married, you see, when they get married, Allah says, وَأَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنْكُمْ وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ إِنْ يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاءَ يُغْنِيهُمُ اللَّهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, marry the unmarried ones. The unmarried ones. Why? It brings stability. When children are born as a result of that, there is stability because the two did not have this accidentally. They had it in a planned way. The child now will receive the planned idea because it's not accidental. I've seen children who are hated by their parents, who hate their parents, it's because the child was born accidentally. Now, accidentally here I mean outside of marriage. In marriage, if it's accidental, it's still a blessing. But usually out of marriage, accidental children who are born usually are a burden on the two sides, because neither side actually wanted the child. They wanted the pleasures of life and not the result. And the child becomes a recipient of pain and agitation. And then they have to survive because now the parents are not contractually in agreement, which means now the future of the child is in question, which is why many times you have these breakups and all kinds of problems. So marriage is one of the bedrocks of society. It's a universal principle, by the way. When I go and recite nikah, or even when I go to marriages of non-Muslim audiences, you'll see it's a universal message. And Islam recognizes universality. Islam recognizes Christian marriages as legitimate, Jewish marriages, atheist marriages as legitimate marriages. If it didn't, then they all become candidates of marriage, which is haram. So it's a universal message. It brings harmony. Now today, though, we raise our children in a very material way. We don't give them aqeedah. We don't give them purpose of life. We don't show them greater purposes. We show them only temporal purposes. I've seen many parents who say to their daughters, don't do this. You need to be successful, and this is what your future is. You're going to find a rich boy, and you're going to live in a nice house, and that's your goal. Instead of saying you're going to be a God-conscious person who's going to promote good and forbid evil, and you're going to be a great role model, and you're going to bring great children who are going to be, representatives of God in this world. No, we don't teach them that way. This is why I was giving the example of Luqman. Luqman, with wisdom, what is he doing? He's teaching his son, don't make partners to God. Ya bunayya la tushrik billah. Right? Ya bunayya aqim as-salah wa'mur bil ma'ruf wanha 'anil munkar wasbir 'ala ma asabak inna dhalika min 'azmi al-umur wa la tusa'ir khaddaka lin-nas wa la tamshi fil ardi mar'a. This is Luqman talking to his son, my son, uphold prayers, promote good, forbid evil, and be patient with the trials and tribulations of life. When parents teach children under these principles of aqeedah and teach them the principles of good moral upbringing, then the probability of marriages will survive. You see, success. We've got career-oriented sisters, which is not bad. It's good for women to be career-oriented. There's nothing wrong. They should be. But not at the contradiction level where if they're going to get married and going to have children, Allah has genetically and systematically set a pathway where women have an obligation. Just bearing a child for 9 months, they cannot work. It's not that easy. They can work for so many months. Eventually they have to take leaves, right? And then they have to spend time with their children. They have to nurture the child. And these are obligations that are not man-made. These are natural obligations. Hence, the man is the breadwinner. That's why Allah says, الرِّجَالُ قَوَّامُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ. The man has authority on the woman. For what reason? On the provisions. He has to be the provider. It's an obligation. When a man provides his wife for money, he's not doing his wife any favor. It's an obligation. It's a command of God. But when a woman contributes within the family, she's doing it as a blessing. She doesn't have to. It's not obligatory on her. So Allah says these are the differences. Now, under those conditions, therefore the woman is not obligated to go and earn money. It's the man's obligation. Now, if a woman wants to be career-oriented, I see women who are career-oriented, they want to have children, or they want to have children, but they want to have nannies raising them, or they want to have babysitters raising them. There's a contradiction there. Because children need that love and nurturing, and there's a balance within the family. Now, you and I can talk till we turn blue. We can be feminists all we want, or we can be these male chauvinists all we want. Both sides are wrong. The real answer is the balance. Let's be realistic here. I even talk about, Billie Jean King and Martina Navratilova. Martina Navratilova's biceps were probably bigger than most men's biceps. Okay, but she's a woman. But have you ever seen her play men's tennis? She can't. She'll be destroyed. Men's tennis is much faster than women's tennis, even as great as she is. They don't go, and they created their own women's tennis association, Why didn't they just join the men and say, listen, we are all, equalizers of society. Let's all just be men and women. There should be no distinction between us. It doesn't work that way. You can go to the most, liberal societies. You'll find men's room is separate from women's room. Right? Why is it separate? Well, because there's something natural about it. It's just you can't break it. So let's not violate that. But the fact that a woman wants to pursue a career is nothing wrong, but not at the cost of shattering the family. So there are those who are very career-oriented who don't get married, and that's fine, that's a choice. Because marriage is not an obligation. Unless you're going to commit a haram act, it becomes obligatory. Otherwise, it's mustahab.
Thank you. Brother over there, please.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rashid Rose, and it's a pleasure to meet you at long last, and I hope at some point be able to get a chance to interview you. I run a TV show on National Bay TV on Saturdays, so one of these days I'd like to do that. I want to pick up on the question where you mentioned where Muslims are failing to engage with non-Muslims. You mentioned about Muslims having a superiority complex. Look down upon other religions, you talk about the Christians and others. And I also look at the Muslim media, where most of the shows and Muslim media don't necessarily relate to non-Muslims. If non-Muslims was to watch a Muslim channel, they wouldn't understand what's being said. The question I'm asking you is, what can be done to change the mindset of Muslims where they stop looking down on Christians and Jews, etc., as, like you said, kafir, which is derogatory in its own sense? Mm. And when will Muslim channels start opening up the doors? Because, like I said, my show is primarily and specifically for non-Muslims. So people who were necessarily watching Ahlul Bayt TV before are now watching it based on the fact I choose to choose a different path.
Yeah.
Why aren't Muslim channels using that same path to educate the non-Muslims, hence creating a more harmonious relationship between us, the rest of society? Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you. Very nice question. We need that. Unfortunately, we as Muslims we don't have the ability to articulate the message of Islam to a non-Muslim audience. It's very classical. If you ever circle a Christian audience or go to a Jewish audience, you'll find the majority of the audience cannot articulate their religion to me or to you if you were non-Jew and you ask a Jew, explain to me. Like there was a rabbi, I asked him, I said, look, I'm interested in becoming a Jew. Can I? He looked at me, he says, well, I said, is anything wrong if I want to be a Jew? Because he was sitting next to me. I said, I'd like to become a Jew. He said, can I? He says, well, the law is very complicated. You wouldn't understand it. I said, so I can't come close to God? Well, you are good, but... I didn't go further, but the point was he couldn't articulate.
You're not the chosen one.
Yeah, exactly. We have the same attitude, by the way, sometimes, sadly, as Muslims, me, I have Ahlul Bayt right here. Kullu Shia Jannah, and I'm saved. Explain to me, please, how do I get saved? Well, it's complicated. Really? How complicated? You see? And what happens then is we hide behind this complication. So we don't have the ability often to articulate, so what do? We avoid the conversation. Look, if you're not a sports fan and somebody's going to talk about sports like Manchester United or something, and you don't watch football, then you're going to say, excuse me, I don't know what you're talking about. It's Greek to me. We're like that. But then when we come within our own circles and we recite the rituals and we go through the Muharram programs, for example, we feel satisfied. We cry for Imam Hussein. We feel like, hayhat minna dhilla, right? But what are you doing about it? Well, I cried for Imam Hussein. Isn't that enough? I beat my chest, and I do shed tears, and I do wear black. That's what Imam Hussein went to Karbala and he gave his whole family for? So you and I could do that? Well, yes. What do you think? Unbelievable. And we fight too, by the way. My way of, Latmiya is better than yours. My Nauha has more spirit than yours. We fight. I've seen it with my eyes. We've belittled Karbala to some silly little fights that we have. Whereas we should be talking about the big picture. Imam Hussein's message was for the world. The world should be. This is why, I love projects that go out in the name of Imam Hussein and they spread. Like I'm not saying that our Muslim projects and programs should stop. No. We should increase even our Muslim projects, even deep Islamic conversations aimed for Muslim audiences, which is okay. No one says you shouldn't have it. But we have a serious lack of extending deen to the non-Muslim audience. And when we do, how do we do it? I grew up in New York most of my life. When the first julus is there, you know what julus means. Julus actually in Arabic means to sit. But julus to some of us means you walk with a banner. Julus. So the first year, what did they do in New York in Madison Avenue? New York City, Madison Avenue. Half the men had no shirts. Right? First of all, they're severely, some of them out of shape. So now, of course, that's another problem. But leave that alone. Well, you take your shirt off. Why? You're beating your chest back and forth. You're walking on in Manhattan, New York City. The Americans are looking like, who are these creatures? Who are these aliens? And they've got these big banners, Ya Hussein in Arabic, in Urdu. So I'm saying, what's this for? Well, Imam Hussein, Karbala, Ashura. I said, for who? For us. So it's almost like we were in a cage. We wanted to scream, and we wanted to go to Madison Avenue, Manhattan, and just scream, Ya Hussein. So that non-Muslim can see us and say, wow, what's this? It's too complicated. You won't know what it is.
Yeah, but, excuse me, but what's wrong about it?
I think the message... No. It's an excellent question you're asking. When I grieve for something, and I have an... No, hold on. Let me.
When it was
Yeah.
when Prophet ﷺ's one teeth, when it got damaged, and Hazrat rescued me.
No, that hadith is weak, by the way. It's not true. You have your evidence for the strength of the hadith? Okay, let me see it. Uwais Qarni's hadith is da'if. It's not... by the way, let me ask you a question, a basic question. No, hold on one second. Hold on. You've brought some very interesting answer. Thank you. Thank you for bringing, but let me hold on one sec. Can you imagine the Prophet's truth was broken in the Battle of Uhud? I want you all to think about this. The wisdom of the Rahmatul lil Alameen.
Have a seat.
Have a seat, please. Have a seat. I know you're excited and I appreciate that. Have a seat.
You can continue it later.
No, I like your excitement. I think it's good.
The basic pillars of truth. Azai Mola, Azadari Imam Hussain al-Islam, and Wilayat Imam Ali al-Islam. Yazid, he read Namaz. He justified Allah.
I see.
He justified Prophet Rasul.
Okay.
What was Karbala based on?
You're right. So we should stop praying.
Wilayat Imam Ali al-Islam.
Right. So you say Yazid prayed, so we should stop praying.
No, I won't stop praying.
Then why did you bring the prayer argument? Why did you bring the argument of prayer? You just said Yazid prayed. Are you belittling Salah? You know what Imam Hussein did in Karbala? He prayed. He prayed till he was killed. So don't belittle Salah, please.
What was Karbala upon?
Brother, with due respect, Wilaya is there, but understand. Ask Imam Ali. Ask Imam Ali, what did he say? No. How important is Wilaya of Imam Ali? Okay, can we let's just
Brother,
move on,
can you
please.
sit down? And inshallah
We'll have this conversation later.
You took... Brother,
Let me
have a
ask you a question.
seat.
Hold on one
Inshallah,
second.
you can continue it later.
You love Imam Ali? No, you love Imam Ali? You love Imam Ali? Did Imam Ali teach you to do this? What you're doing now? Did Imam Ali teach you to do this? If there's a wrong, there's an akhlaq and an adab on how to talk. Did Imam Ali teach you to do this? I am wrong, no problem, but did Imam Ali teach you to speak this way? You want to see real life experience? Bingo. Watch. Trust me, I've gone through a dozen of these. It's classical.
Brother, have a seat. Please have respect for the rest of the program and rest of the people. Inshallah, you can continue it later on with each other.
It's nice that you want to make a wrong right. But I would advise you as an older brother that have patience and hopefully you'll make the wrong right. I don't take umbrage to what you're saying. And your feelings, I respect it. And they're good. And I'm honored that you love Ahlul Bayt and you love Walayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. It's beautiful. That's great. And yes, we don't want to belittle the Azadari of Imam Hussein. No, not at all. I have flown 30 hours from Sydney for one day to be participant tomorrow on the 10th day, which is that program for the gala dinner, right? For what? To come in here and to sit and pontificate? Or did I come here to feel honored to be part of the message of Karbala? So look, we have a difference of opinion in how we approach things, and that's perfectly fine. But there's a way to make a wrong right. And when we get annoyed and we start getting fiery, thinking we can correct it, Shaitan loves it. You know why? What's happening in the Middle East with all of these ISIS? It's the same attitude. I'm not saying you are. Same. Anger, fire, close the ears, and don't listen. Imam Ali suffered. In the Khawarij, troubled him for the same reason. He said, stop. Let me explain. They said, no, we don't want to hear you. You're going to follow our way. And what happened to him? how much he suffered. Muawiyah was about to be destroyed. The Khawarij came in and stopped him. Told Malik al-Ashtar, stop. Malik had his sword on Muawiyah's throat. And Imam Ali told Malik, stop, don't kill him. Come back. Malik said, one stroke and I'm done. I get rid of Iblis. No. Who are these people? The Khawarij. They troubled Imam so much that when he used to lead prayers, they would stop him even from leading prayers. They would trouble him 1,000 ways. What was the difference? They believed they were right. The difference was they didn't want to have a dialogue. When you want to have dialogue, we correct issues. I love people who have love of Ahlul Bayt. Okay? Hands down. That's beautiful. But there's a way and a means to express that love. I did not belittle Manhattan. You didn't hear my whole story. Those people who went out and put the flags out, it's their passion. But when you go out in public, the non-Muslim audience looks at you and they have a difference of opinion. And Quran says, "Udu ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah." Without hikmah, you are actually damaging the message of Islam. Imam Hussein was so careful. I'll give you a simple example. Muslim ibn Awsaja was standing behind the tent, and Imam Hussein was digging, a moat, and putting fire behind the tent. And Shimr dhul Jawshan, la'natullahi alayh, comes, and he says, "Oh, Hussein, you want to go to hell already? You're already putting the fire." Imam was putting a fire so the army doesn't attack the women from the back of the tent. Muslim, who was an older man, a man of wisdom, Hafidh of Quran. Please understand, Hafidh of Quran. He knew the entire Quran, Muslim ibn Awsaja. He was not a young man. He wasn't an erratic person who had a temper problem. Wise man, giving his soul to Karbala. He stood there and in his rightful mind felt angered by the way Shimr was talking to Imam Hussein, because this is his love. This is his Imam. You don't talk to my Imam the wrong way. You understand? And Muslim took his sword and was pulling it out of his scabbard. The Imam puts his hand on the scabbard and says, "Don't do that." Now Muslim can justify, "Imam, I love you. I'll die for you. I'll kill him 1,000 times. I'll be killed 1,000 times." Muslim said to Imam Hussein, "If I get killed 1,000 times and I come back alive, I will not stop serving you." But do we ever bother to ask Imam Hussein what does he want? No. Do we bother to ask Imam Ali alayhi salam what he wants? No. We tell Imam Ali, we tell Imam Hussein what we want. This is like the Christians telling what they want about Jesus. Did you ever bother to ask Jesus? When I talk to Christians, I said, stop. Let's go ask Jesus. What does he want? Did he say to you to worship him as a God? He never says that. "Why callest thou me good? For there is none good but that which sent me. My Father is greater than I." When the Christians are stumped when they hear this, I said, let's ask the Christian. Let's ask the man of Christianity. The heart of Christianity is Jesus himself. Let's ask him, what does he want? Do we ask him? No. We tell Jesus, this is what we want from you. This is not ibadah. This is not obedience. What did Muslim ibn Awsaja do? He didn't say to the Imam, "Step aside. I love you so much, I'm going to go kill him." No. Imam says, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah." We're going to invite even Shimr to the last moment so that on Judgment Day, he cannot say we were hard to him. You want to see hikmah, brother? You know Abdurrahman ibn Muljim. When he enters Kufa, Imam Ali had a roster. And on the roster, Imam saw this Ibn Muljim's name who had come from Egypt. Imam says, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." The companions say, "Amirul Mu'mineen, what happened?" He said, "My killer has entered Kufa." Imam says to his companions, "This man will kill me." Ibn Muljim comes to him one time and the companions were standing next to him. He says, "Oh Ali, I want a horse. I want to go someplace." So Imam calls one of his companions, says, "Bring him a horse." A roan was brought, a horse with the spots. He says, "Here." So Ibn Muljim climbs the horse and he rides away. The companion says, "Amirul Mu'mineen, that's the man who is going to kill you. Why did you give him a horse?" This is practical Islam. We've forgotten all these parts. Imam replies eloquently. He said, "So that I don't leave a room for argument on him, that I wasn't nice to him." Because you see, if the Imam was harsh to him even once, then on Judgment Day he can say to Allah, oh Allah, I went to your representative and he didn't even offer me something. So I got angry and I killed him. Imam says, not even that. I am going to be so nice to him that the day he kills me, he will cry. And he did. When Ibn Muljim struck him, Imam looked at him, he said, what wrong did I do to you for you to hit me? And Ibn Muljim, as wretched as he was, began to have tears in his eyes. He realized what a foolish man he was. But that's bil hikmah. The deen that we are given bil hikmah is that when we go in public and we're going to mention Imam Hussein alayhi salam, there is an adab. There is a means, there is a method. Just like when I go to court, I cannot just go and say, Judge, I have something to say. No, there is a rule. Your Honor, may I approach the bench, please? And if the judge says you cannot, you don't. You can't just blurb and say whatever you want. There's a rule, there's a way, there's a means. Why? Why do the judges have that system? It maintains order. It brings clarity in the message. Look at the Quran. Quran doesn't mention a single companion's name. Why doesn't it mention? Because it has a style. It has a means. It's bil hikmah. Tilka ayatul kitab al-hakim. These are verses of a book of wisdom. It presents with hikmah. It's not just wild, and we don't do things in any way because we are emotional. This is where we need to understand the essence and the elegance and the beauty of deen. So when I see brothers like you and others around, you're beautiful people. There's nothing wrong in your passion and compassion. And I know you will die for the love of Imam Hussein. MashaAllah, more power to you. It's not the point. The point is, there is wisdom. And I'll give you an example. That first year of Julus, there was no salah. No prayer was held. And when prayer was held, it was only a small group and there was no water. They served milk, but there was no water. So we said, okay, fine, we'll do tayammum. I mean, what did Imam Hussein go to Karbala for? If not to maintain salah. Salah is why Imam Hussein went to Karbala. He went to Karbala for salah. Imam Ali alayhi salam was fighting in the battle of against Muawiyah. When he was fighting, okay, in Siffin, you find he, at the peak of the war, he looks up and the companion looks at him and says, Amir al-Mu'mineen, why are you looking? He says, I'm looking for the time of prayer. He says, Amir al-Mu'mineen, we are in the middle of a battle. Arms are being dislodged, heads are being cut, things are happening. Why are you worried? Imam looks at him and says, why are we here? Why are we fighting this man? If not to maintain salah, why are we fighting him? Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he lost more than half his army in Karbala during the time of war in salah. He told Yazid's army, stop. It's prayer time. They said, your prayer is not accepted. Imam said, fine, we pray Salatul Khawf. In the salah, they started pelting them with arrows. So many arrows that half Imam's army. Think, if you have only 72 real warriors, half your army is going to be killed because of salah. You would not be strategic, say, oh Allah, for the sake of winning this war, I did not pray. No. So for someone to say salah, what Yazid did, what Muawiyah did, their salah, Allah says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. Woe to the prayerful ones who do it for show off. That was the salah of that kind. The kind of our imams and prophets was the type where even a Jew comes and asks, he says, I want to know this prophet of yours. I want to know what did he say before he died. So another man said to him, the Jew asks the audience, he says, who saw the Prophet breathe his last? He said, that man. They point to Imam Ali alayhi salam. He goes to Imam Ali alayhi salam and this Jewish man is asking him, did you witness the death of your Prophet? He said, yes. He says, okay, what was the last word he uttered in his mouth? And Imam Ali alayhi salam says, as-salah, as-salah. The Jew says, this is a prophet of God. I bear witness he is the prophet of God. He became a Muslim. Why? Because their scriptures show that every prophet, at the point of their death, their last words was as-salah, as-salah, and then they died. So Imam Hussein went to Karbala for salah. Alhamdulillah, the following year it got better, and it got better. And the julus got better, alhamdulillah, with more. The pamphlets got better. The audience got better, alhamdulillah. What I'm trying to say is there is an evolution. But when we present Islam in public, not for the audience, and if I'm a non-Muslim, and I see people without shirts, expressing their grief, that does not conform with my idea, I will be repulsed by that group. And there's a problem that even our Maraja have said, if it brings bad message to Islam, stop doing it. Every Marja has said that.
Can I?
No. So we'll conclude this, but here's my point. Hold on. If it brings a bad message, then we, like anything, we will discuss it later. I promise you, I'll give you all the time. You can scream all you want. Trust me, I've got no problems, brother. I've done this 1,000 times. It's not a problem, and I respect you. I'm just simply saying the facts. Now, you want to disprove my facts? You can disprove them. I've got no problem. But let's conclude on this.
Can I just say that it's 1 minute to Salah?
Yeah, so we need to.
So, just
look,
bear
by
that
the
in mind.
way, let me conclude. I love this dialogue. I love this discourse. I love when people raise their hands. Excuse me, I challenge you. I love it. Trust me, I don't dislike it. Just let's not get angry. Thank you.
Salawat.
Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I know this video is going to go viral, by the way.